There's a moment most people handle completely wrong. Someone says something to you. Maybe it's a colleague who dismisses your idea in front of the whole room. Maybe it's a family member who makes a comment that lands just a little too sharp to be a joke. Maybe it's someone at a party who talks to you like you're inconvenient. Maybe it's a stranger who decides, for whatever reason, that you're a safe target. And in that moment, that specific charged, slightly suspended moment, most people do one of two things. They explode. They fire back immediately, emotionally, loudly. The adrenaline takes over and words come out that they'll either regret or that escalate the situation into something nobody wanted. Or they shrink. They say nothing. They smile awkwardly or laugh it off or find somewhere else to look. And then they spend the next 3 days replaying the moment in the shower, thinking of everything they should have said. Both of those responses have something in common. They both hand the power to the other person. And that's what this is really about. Not revenge. Not confrontation, not becoming someone who walks around looking for fights. This is about power. Specifically, how to keep yours. First, understand what disrespect actually is. Before you can respond to disrespect well, you need to understand what it is and what it isn't. Not everything uncomfortable is disrespect. Honest feedback that stings is not disrespect. A disagreement that gets heated is not disrespect. Someone telling you something you don't want to hear is not disrespect. Even if it feels that way in the moment. Disrespect is something specific. It's when someone treats your presence, your voice, your time, or your dignity as less valuable than their own. It's dismissal. It's contempt. It's the behavior of someone who has decided, consciously or not, that the normal rules of basic human regard don't apply to how they treat you. That distinction matters because your response should be calibrated. Reacting to honest feedback like it's an attack makes you look fragile. Reacting to genuine disrespect like it's nothing makes you look like a target. Know the difference. Then respond accordingly. 1. Don't react. Respond. This is the single most important distinction in this entire script. Reaction is automatic. It's the emotional reflex. The spike of anger, the flash of humiliation, the immediate impulse to either attack or retreat. Reactions are fast, and they feel satisfying in the moment, and they almost always make things worse. Response is deliberate. It's what happens when you take the emotional charge of the moment, let it pass through you without acting on it immediately, and then choose what to do next from a position of clarity rather than impulse. The gap between stimulus and response, that pause, even if it's only 2 seconds long, is where your power lives. When someone disrespects you, your body will tell you to do something immediately. The adrenaline, the heat in your chest, the sudden sharpening of your focus, all of that is biological. And it's trying to protect you. You don't need to fight it. You just need to not obey it blindly. Take a breath. Actually take one. Let 1 second pass. And in that second, ask yourself one question. What response here actually serves me? Not what feels best right now. What actually serves you? Your dignity, your reputation, your peace of mind, the outcome you want from this situation. That question, asked and answered in the space of a single breath, changes everything about what comes next. 2. Use the power of the calm, direct response. Most people expect one of two things when they disrespect someone. They expect either no reaction, which confirms for them that they can continue, or they expect an emotional explosion, which gives them something to dismiss, deflect, or use against you. What almost nobody expects is calm, direct, unhurried engagement. It sounds like this. Someone makes a cutting remark about you in a group setting. Instead of laughing it off or snapping back, you simply look at them, steady, without heat, and say, "That's an interesting thing to say. What did you mean by that?" That's it. No raised voice, no visible anger, no sarcasm, just a clear, calm question that puts the behavior directly under a spotlight and makes them own it explicitly. Watch what happens in that moment, because one of two things will occur. Either they double down, in which case they've now shown everyone present exactly who they are, clearly and without ambiguity, or they backpedal. They say they were joking. They say you misunderstood. They suddenly become very interested in softening what they just said. Either outcome works in your favor. The calm response does something the explosive response never can. It demonstrates that you are not destabilized, that their words landed but did not move you from your foundation. And that kind of composure, especially in a charged moment, signals something to everyone watching. It signals that you know your worth, and people who know their worth don't need to perform outrage to prove it. 3. Name the behavior without attacking the person. There's a technique that trained negotiators, therapists, and conflict resolution specialists all use, and it's deceptively simple. Name what just happened, out loud, calmly, without accusation, not, "You're so disrespectful and you always do this." But that comment felt dismissive. That's not something I'm going to let pass. The difference is enormous. The first version is an attack on character. It triggers defensiveness, counterattack, and escalation. It turns a single incident into a referendum on who someone is as a person. And people will fight hard to defend their identity even when they know they behaved badly. The second version is a description of behavior. It's harder to argue with because you're not telling them who they are. You're describing what happened and where you stand in relation to it. You're drawing a line without declaring war. This approach does several things simultaneously. It makes the behavior visible and real rather than letting it slide into plausible deniability. It communicates your standard. This is not acceptable without theatrics. And it does all of that in a way that's almost impossible to dismiss as oversensitivity or overreaction. You're not upset. You're clear. And clarity is far more powerful than anger. 4. Silence is a weapon. Use it. This one surprises people. In a culture that rewards the quick comeback, the sharp retort, the perfectly timed one-liner, silence feels like losing. Like you didn't have anything good enough to say. Like you got beaten. But silence, used deliberately, is one of the most unsettling responses you can give to someone who disrespects you. Here's why. Disrespect is usually a bid for reaction. The person saying something cutting wants something back. Defensiveness, embarrassment, anger, submission. Whatever their particular flavor, they want a response that confirms their power in the moment. Silence gives them nothing. You look at them. You let what they said hang in the air for 2, 3, 4 full seconds. Long enough for everyone present to feel it. Long enough for the person who said it to hear their own words echoing back without the cover of your immediate reaction to absorb them. And then, if you choose to say anything at all, you say it slowly, deliberately, in a tone that makes clear you are entirely unbothered. That combination, the pause, the steadiness, the economy of words, hits differently than any comeback because it signals something a comeback never can. That you didn't need to scramble, that you weren't rattled, that you had all the time in the world because nothing they said touched anything real in you. 5. Don't explain yourself to people who aren't owed an explanation. This is one of the most common ways people accidentally surrender their power in the wake of disrespect. Someone says something dismissive about your choices, your career, your relationship, your lifestyle, your opinion. And the instinct is to justify, to explain why you made that choice, to lay out your reasoning in enough detail that they'll see you were right and back down. Don't. The moment you start explaining yourself to someone who just disrespected you, the subtext is, your opinion of me matters enough that I need to change it. And that subtext hands them something they haven't earned. Not everyone deserves access to your reasoning. Not everyone who challenges you is doing so in good faith. And not every attack disguised as a question deserves a detailed, earnest answer. The alternative is simpler and far more powerful. I'm comfortable with my decision. Full stop. No elaboration. No defense. No invitation to continue the debate. That response, brief, grounded, completely unbothered, communicates more about your self-assurance than any explanation could. Because it says, your approval is not required. Your understanding is not required. I know what I'm doing, and I don't need you to agree. That's not arrogance. That's self-possession. And the difference between those two things is everything. 6. Address it privately when the situation calls for it. Not every act of disrespect deserves a public response. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing in the moment, and then address it directly, one-on-one, afterward. This is especially true in workplace situations. A colleague who undermines you in a meeting, a manager who speaks to you dismissively in front of others, a peer who takes credit for your work. These situations often don't benefit from a public confrontation. They benefit from a private, clear, adult conversation. Find the moment. Sit across from them and say exactly what happened and exactly where you stand. After the meeting earlier, I want to be direct with you. The way you spoke to me in that room wasn't acceptable. I'd like that to not happen again. No drama, no audience, no performance. Just two people and the truth. This approach does something public confrontation often doesn't. It gives the other person the chance to correct their behavior without losing face in front of others, which means they're more likely to actually do it. It also signals something about you, that you handle things directly, maturely, and without needing spectators to validate your response. People who do this consistently build a reputation that matters. Others learn, quickly and quietly, that you are not someone to be casually disrespected, not because you make scenes, but because you handle things. 7. Know when to walk away. And understand that walking away is not losing. Sometimes the right response to disrespect is none of the above. Sometimes the right response is to simply remove yourself from the situation entirely. Not every person is worth your energy. Not every battle is worth your time. Some people are in a place, emotionally, psychologically, situationally, where no response you give will land well. They're not looking for resolution. They're looking for a reaction. And the most powerful thing you can do with those people is decline to give them one. Walking away is not weakness. Running away is weakness. There's a distinction. Running away looks like leaving because you're overwhelmed, because you couldn't think of anything to say, because you needed to escape the situation before you unraveled. It's reactive. It's driven by discomfort. Walking away looks like choosing to disengage because you've assessed the situation and decided this person and this moment are not worth your investment. It's deliberate. It's driven by clarity. One signals that they got to you. The other signals that you made a choice. The way you carry yourself out of a room says as much as anything you could have said in it. Here's what this all comes down to. Disrespect tests something specific in you. It's testing whether your sense of worth is internally sourced or externally dependent. Whether you need the other person to acknowledge they were wrong in order to feel okay. Whether your composure is a surface quality that disappears under pressure or something that goes all the way down. The people who handle disrespect best aren't the ones with the sharpest tongues or the fastest comebacks or the most fearless willingness to escalate. They're the ones who are so settled in their own sense of self that someone else's behavior, however cutting, however public, however deliberate, simply cannot reach the foundation. They respond instead of reacting. They name behavior without attacking character. They use silence and steadiness and calm directness in combinations that communicate, without a single raised voice, that there is a standard here. And that standard is not negotiable. You don't become that person overnight. But you become that person one moment at a time. Every time you choose the deliberate response over the impulsive one. Every time you hold your ground without losing your composure. Every time you make it quietly, unmistakably clear that your dignity is not available for anyone to borrow against, or take. That's not a skill you're born with. It's one you build. And every moment, like the ones we've talked about today, is another chance to build it.